All right. Well, mega fun and everyone, and happy Halloween, rather. It is October 13, 2024. Okay, and I wanted to, well, do a couple things for this video. Um, well, the first thing I'll do is talk about, uh, horror movies, I guess, in general, being Halloween, and then, just talk about that briefly, if I could, and then also briefly is Tubi, the streaming service, and go through what kind of horror movies they have. I think their category is called Rabbit Hole. I don't know why it's called that, but what does that have to do with horror? But a rabbit hole, and you pick, not pick, they picked some horror movies they recommend for you, and there's like a shit ton of them. So we can kind of go through those, and maybe I could comment on, a handful of them. Not every single thing, even though I may have seen them. I don't want to waste time, it would just last forever, talking about every single one if I've seen them, But when it comes to like horror films, I consider something like Terrifier, the Terrifier series. Sure, I suppose it can be more. It can be considered scary. I think the first Terrifier, where it took place in that factory or whatever the fuck that was, but I consider that more of like a horror, closer to being horror, even like throwback, old school kind of horror, than what the other two became. Not that they're bad, it just kind of evolved a little bit. Second one could almost fall in that category, but it almost has, there is a superhero quality about that, which I like, which I do like. Let's say something like, the Halloween series, with Michael Myers, and the Nightmare on Elm Street, things like that. The Hellraiser films, those I consider the more horror because it's more atmospheric, and it's like setting something up and building up tension, and building up the suspense, and as Steven Seagal said, I forgot his character name, but in what was it? Hard to Kill. What the fuck? I think his name was Storm, right? His name was Storm. Last name was Storm. I fucking forgot his first name, but Storm. And he said to William Sadler's character, not said it, but he wrote it in lipstick or something on the mirror. Anticipation of death is worse than death itself. Right before he found him, he was like playing hide and seek, and he shoved that shotgun right into his mouth. But anyways, so that's, to me, things like that is more of like horror. And even though there might be some gore and some violence, and typically like a slasher killer, like Scream, right, and the Friday the 13th films, and the Halloween. Those are more horror, although it's more of a slasher, subgenre. What I consider to be more of real horror are the ghost stories, and movies about demons and possession. Take, for example, The Changeling, starring George C. Scott, or The Haunting of Julia, aka Full Circle, but I know it as Haunting of Julia, starring Mia Farrow, Tom Conti, Keir Dullea, things like that. Good old-fashioned ghost story films, the older ones, stuff from the 70s and 80s. Then you have the ones that try to replicate that, and they do it quite successfully. Not all the time do they, but I think the director Ty West did a superb job of emulating and capturing the essence of what classic 70s and 80s horror was like, with things like The Innkeepers, and House of the Devil, for example, does a great job. What was his name? Hold on here. I think he did Antichrist. I just had it and now I forgot, but he did Antichrist, and I have it on Criterion. Lars von Trier. With his Antichrist. That's also like a classic build up, when there's something truly sinister and satanic, a presence going on that it's unseen, but you know it's there. You know, there's a presence. Like Rosemary's Baby is another thing. You know, with Mia Farrow, hearing these very faint chants of you know, satanic and witchcraft, you know, rituals going on. You know, things like that. And then she's telling everyone, and everyone thinks she's crazy, and they don't believe it. And even Cassavetes, the husband, didn't believe him or believe her, right? But I remember at the end of that, even watching it with my friends and my brother's friends back in the day, just you know, hail Satan, you know, at the end of that, and you have just this Asian dude, like, what the fuck is he doing there? Hail Satan, you know, you don't think he's got the Japanese, and they're like, what the Asian guy, and you know, and he doesn't belong there, he doesn't, you know, but it was just kind of funny to us, you know, back in the day. But sorry, you know, it's true though. It's you know, you don't see them doing that. You see them, you know, doing their katas and going out there and practicing ninjutsu. Not this, but Enter the Ninja. Come on, Revenge of the Ninja, Shokasugi, Pat Morita. You know, the Hip Nip, right? Karate Kid. All that great stuff, but I know what they were trying to do. They're trying to showcase that it spans the world, and it's not just limited, you know, to America. You know, it's this Satanism and witchcraft spans the globe, and you never know who it could be. But that's what I'm talking about. Things like that, where there's a conspiracy, you know, going on. Or take a look at Halloween 3 with Tom Thrill Me Atkins, right, with that whole conspiracy and the whole shamrock thing and the masks, right, things like that. Now, things like Terrifier, you know, and like the Saw films and the Hostel films, they're more of, what did they call, there's a word for it, shock porn or torture porn. I think it's called torture porn. That is more like a torture porn to me. It's scary in the sense that it can be gross to look at, but it's not true horror where it's, you know, you expect it, you know it's coming, and that is the highlight of those type of films, you know. So to me, that is the difference between that type of horror film and something like the classics, like the Halloweens and you know, the Friday the 13th series, even Final Destination to a certain extent, but that got a little bit dumb, you know, all those sequels. Although, you know, I get it, and they're still entertaining to watch, but with the creeping death, you know, coming after you, the Candyman films with, you know, Tony Todd. But also I know Tony Todd not only from Beastmaster 3, I have Braxis, but if you've seen The Rock, let me see. Do you know how this shit works? Wait. Have you ever been fired? Okay, let me get into the... First of all, these sound better. I can't really do Nicolas Cage, but first of all, these sound better. Okay. One, I'm a Beatles nuts. I'm trying to get into the mood of him, or the personality of him. Do you know how this shit works? Do you know how this shit works? And then, have you ever heard of a song by Elton John called The Rocket Man? I don't listen to soft ass shit. Well, I'm sorry, he didn't laugh. He's like, it just makes me laugh, you know, that line. I don't listen to soft ass shit. I only bring it up because it's you. You're the Rocket Man. Well, anyways, okay, that's enough. Where's that body? Where's the body of that son of a bitch? Because it vaporized her. The body can do that? Oh, yeah, sir. Well, okay. Where was I? But yeah, the Candyman series, you know, with Tony Todd, and he was also in the Final Destination series. So that, you know, if you watch those type of films, eventually you can differentiate, you know, what I'm talking about. If you know, having a hard time to, you know, to tell, okay, but I'm pretty sure it's you know, you're able to do it, especially if you're into horror films. The Witch, right? Spelled with 2 V's, right? Which stars early Anya Taylor-Joy film, which I really dig that film. That is another one where it's modern day, you know, horror story of witchcraft and Satan worship, but done in the classical sense. Okay, so that's enough of that. And I'll just say that I do like the direction that the Terrifier films are going. Please, maybe even have it, you know, when she goes to hell, you know, there's that demonic, you know, smith, that blacksmith there. Let's up the choreography of the sword fighting. When you see that sword fighting at the end of Terrifier 3, because I only showed a little snippet of it, there's quite a bit more, and there's a part where they both get disarmed and there's some hand-to-hand combat going on. Don't expect Jackie Chan, Jet Li stuff, but it's, you know, it's there, and the real martial arts type action and choreography, fanciful choreography, come into play when they're wielding the sword and the chainsaw, the gladius and the chainsaw, or the short blade, whatever. I think it is a gladius, right? What she's wielding. That's what a gladius is. Kind of like bloodletter in Diablo 2. That is a gladius. It doesn't have a like a thick, long hilt. It's very, you know. Well, have it where she's training, so, you know, she gets better at it and up that choreography. So now she's doing more, you know, kind of martial arts or Russell Crowe, Witcher style type combat style to it. I think would be quite cool if she could, you know, train and to get to that level of skill. You even see her do some of that. I might still show it. I don't know, but what is the point? Just watch it. There's a part where it was in the kitchen area, and it's Sienna's back turned to us, and you know, we're seeing the front of Art with the chainsaw, and she's wielding the sword not in the traditional way of holding the handle and the blade is coming out here. She's holding it under an undergrip, so the sword is coming in the bottom, and from the hip she strikes, you know, like an underswing, you know, with the but she doesn't do like that, but it's more of like she's like boom, and it's really, you have to see it. It's something that Gladiator does, you know. I'm talking Russell Crowe, that type of fighting, you know. The choreography in Gladiator was top notch, I thought, and I really liked the fight with that final fight, even though he was a little out of it and drugged, with Maximus versus Joaquin Phoenix, even though he drugged him, but still very cool fight. But yeah, Sienna's like, boom, boom, you have to see it. It's got, he put some thought into the choreography of this. It's not just mindless flailing or something stupid. I mean, she was very skillful. So if you happen to come across this, you know, or anyone who has influence over that movie, tell him to capitalize on the sword fighting and just up it even more and have her even more skillful with the blade for the next one, for the fourth one, where she's actually training with that gladius, you know, somehow, or training with some sword, because she's got to retrieve that gladius from hell, down in hell with Gabby. Anyways, okay, that's enough of that. Sorry. I'll quickly go to Tubi and we can see, you know, what stuff I could recommend. Sorry, I got a little bit excited, and I kind of have to watch that. Okay, so here's what we got. Rabbit Hole, Terror on Tubi. Celebrate Halloween all month long with Tubi's treasure trove of horror. Okay, so here's All Hallows Eve. And as far as I could remember, I think for me at least, my introduction to... wait a minute. No. This was actually my introduction, and it prompted me to go back and see this one. That's how it went. But this is, I believe, his first introduction. Terrifier, as far as I know. Maybe there's something else I don't know, but and it was like a different actor, not Howard Thornton. Right, I think that was his name. So All Hallows Eve, Terrifier, I could recommend those, but just, be prepared. This one is more of an anthology, and there's some Satanism in one of the stories in here, with a pregnant woman. Okay, we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've went through this whole series maybe half a dozen times now already, maybe a little over. I have the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Tower box set, and I have all of the angels as well, but it's not in any big set like the Buffy one that I got, and it comes with a booklet. I should showcase it one day. It's my dad's at my dad's house, so I have to bring it here. In Angel, I just got those individual box sets. This is all back in the day. Halloween 2, this is a Rob Zombie one, and this one where, it's kind of over the top gore. I much rather prefer, the John Carpenter ones and the ones from the 80s and, those ones, the 80s and the 90s. Speaking of Halloween, not these ones, but the John Carpenter ones, the ones from the one that started in, 79? So 78? I think 78, right? Because H2O was 98. Well, there are a few different kind of multiverse, I guess, for that, because you have the original 78 one, the Jamie Lee Curtis, or rather Laurie Strode, saga, the 78 one. Then it goes to Halloween 2, and then Halloween H2O, right? Okay, and then you have Halloween 3, which is the Masks one, which was a standalone, and there was a evil conspiracy and a corporation and androids and stuff in that one. Then you have Halloween 4 and 5, 4 going back to Michael Myers, 4 and 5, and 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, which was the Thorn trilogy, and that's the Jamie Lloyd saga. Even though for 6 she was grown up and played by a different actress, she was approached, she said in an interview, Danielle Harris, who played Jamie Lloyd, the young Jamie Lloyd from 4 and 5, but she was approached to, reprise the role of Jamie Lloyd, but she didn't like the direction that they took her character and what happens to her. She brought up how, they took the time to build up her character in 4 and 5, and then you have this happen, and I agree. I thought it was quite dumb, even though as a movie it's watchable, Curse of Michael Myers. And I believe, is 6 the one that had Paul Rudd star as one of those surviving boys, which I forgot his name now, but anyways, I think that has Paul Rudd in that one. But that's the Thorn trilogy, 4, 5, and 6, right? And you also have Resurrection, but that's kind of, I don't even look at that. That's supposed to be, I suppose, after H2O, but I kind of try to ignore that one, Halloween Resurrection. And then you have like the multiverse, the other way it went, where it's the original 78 Halloween, just like before, with the Laurie Strode franchise, or not franchise, but the Laurie Strode storyline. Then you jump to Halloween 2018, 40 years later, right? And then, Halloween kills and Halloween ends, right? So it goes Halloween 1978, the original one, Halloween 2018, then Halloween kills, Halloween ends, and that's another, multiverse of the Laurie Strode story. So I know people get upset thinking, oh, they're doing this and changing everything, but you just have to, kind of alter your perception a little bit, and especially now with this multiverse thing and how it's become popular. And I'm